Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. I'm Rick Walker. An arrest has been made in St. Louis in connection with the beating of a teen in a melee on the street. A lot of violence out there over the last 24 hours since we last met here online. There was also a big brawl at an apartment complex in Montreal. John Cena humiliated at the Oscars or just part of a comedy sketch? I guess you can decide. We'll discuss that. Pierre Poilievre addressing an issue with the W.E.F. that may put some minds at ease or some concerns, address some concerns with some people who have been on the fence about maybe supporting him, voting for him. We'll get into that too. Boeing exposed in an investigative report showing employees at one of its assembly facilities don't have much faith in the product they are producing. So much so they might not even get on the plane. And as a result of that investigation, it appears maybe there's some fallout from that. We'll get into that. Canada's Environment Minister, Stephen Guilbeault, commenting today on the possible sale of Irving Oil as a result of his policies. Counterfeit money circulating out there, a giant cyber attack, an international cyber attack, a warning coming forth, and at the center of it all is France. Human remains have been found in a landfill in Fredericton in Canada, and Haiti descends into chaos with an authoritarian leader in place who uses the name barbecue. I'll have all that and more when we come back on the other side of this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
First up tonight, this incredibly violent incident in Missouri. It happened Sunday afternoon. One girl has been hospitalized. She is in critical condition at last word, but the most recent update is that another teen, 15 years old, has now been arrested. This fight took place near the intersection of Norgate Drive and Claudine Drive, St. Louis. And it's very, very, very difficult to even watch this. A bunch of people fighting. The two that started it, the first two to get involved, at the very center of it, that was the worst of it. A white girl and a black girl fighting. The white girl thrown to the sidewalk, and as it's very clear in the video, has her head then smashed repeatedly into the sidewalk. Now, mainstream media has reported on this, even though there were reports out there on social media, posts on social media saying, you'll never see this on MSM. I have seen reports on mainstream media about this, especially at the local level, in the local community. What they are not really getting into, though, is the question that is on everyone's mind: was this racially motivated in some way? I don't know. But that is really at the center of all this. That's truly what is the big question and the focal issue that people are getting into online with regard to this incident. The school board not really commenting much on this. The local authorities did go and arrest this 15-year-old suspect, a girl, both of the teens involved in the initial fight, 15 years old, from reports that we've received here. People in the neighborhood, many people did witness this. There were many people involved in this fight. There were adults on the scene. When the girl was beaten, her head was smashed into the sidewalk, and she was laying there twitching. And I need to warn you that the content of this story, the video I am about to run for you, which I have edited and blurred, it is still potentially disturbing to some people, so viewer discretion is absolutely advised here. This has enraged a lot of people. And local residents there, for the most part, mum on this. Nobody wants to talk to the media. They're afraid of some sort of backlash. Many people there tonight in that community saying that more than one person should really be arrested. They're calling for further actions by police with regard to this. This incident will, without question, result in further deterioration in relations between different demographics within the community. Here's the video. Discretion is advised. I froze that there. The audio will also be lowered here because I don't want you to hear. I can't run it. I wouldn't run it even if I could on some of these platforms. It's too graphic. Can't see much because I'm not. There's no way I'm going to show that unedited here. It is available out there. You can go find it if you want to find it, but it is very difficult to watch. When I saw it, it rattled me, and I've seen a lot in my days. It's tough to deal with. As a result, online tonight, I am seeing some posts from people who are using this to further a political agenda, using it for various reasons. Other people just expressing concern. And I don't know where it's going to go. It is getting some media attention, but given the nature and who the victim is and how that all works, and I'm just going to be straight up about it, because it's one demographic that's involved with another, one race against another. I don't know if it was racially motivated. It isn't clear. In fact, if you watch the video, you can see that at one point, the black girl who's on top of the white girl, another black girl comes over and starts to try to pull her off or something, but then another person jumps on that girl and pulls her off. So it looks like another black girl tried to come to the aid of the white girl who was on the ground. I don't know what the circumstances are surrounding this. The best thing to do, in my view at this point, is let police do their jobs and let the facts come out, hopefully, through an investigation. I've had a lot of people messaging me about this story since it emerged on the news radar, so to speak, over the past 24 hours. And I've thought a lot about this. This is the kind of incident that makes things worse all the way around. But the more I've been thinking about it, trying to come up with, what is a solution to this racial tension, this racial unrest, this conflict between races. I'm gonna say this. In my opinion, the solution to the broader question, the broader issue in a situation like this, is the solution has to come from the black community. Everybody looks to the white community to solve the problem. But it's a culture of victimhood that I think prevents us from getting to a solution on this. The white community can only do so much. And the white community, white people, are in a position of culturally right now of I think being tasked with coming up with the solutions. So then that falls to politicians, and then you get these sort of sometimes corrupt things going on. You're not really finding solutions there, because at the end of the day, right now, today, given the way everything sits right now, white people can't speak to people in the black community to help them deal with the internal issues that they're facing over there. And there's a level of personal responsibility that anybody has to bear in a situation like this. The community also has a level of responsibility that it has to bear. You can't just look to one side or the other to come up with a solution. The white community has a responsibility to bear here. You need leaders within that community, locally in particular. Wouldn't it be great if we had, a national leader who could bring people together and deal with an issue like this and provide some moral clarity on it? I don't think we have anybody in that position right now. What we do have is people exploiting situations like this for political purposes, I think, sometimes to just inflame things. But nobody has the moral fiber or the moral character or the leadership qualities to step up in front of people and say, hey, let's all think about this for a moment and act responsibly. The problem here is if it's left only to the one side, say the white community. I'm seeing people who have come up with solutions to problems like this. But as we get an increasing level of polarization politically, culturally, in our communities, in our society, in our country, those solutions are becoming more and more radical, the proposed solutions. And it is unacceptable what some of these people are proposing, because it descends into chaos, more conflict, no good. So, the solutions to problems within your community have to come from within your community. Why are these people out in the street fighting? Because there are problems in both communities. But the white people can't tell the black people what to do to solve their problems. The black people, I think, tend to look to the white community and to politicians to solve their problems. But the truth of the matter is, they've got to start looking within and say, hey, what's wrong with our families? What's wrong with our economy, the local economy? What can we do? What about the morals that our young people are being taught, if any? And the same thing with the other community. But one can't dictate to the other. One side can't dictate to the other. They're going to have to find moral clarity within. They're going to have to find that leadership within. And I'll tell you, you're not going to find that clarity, that moral clarity, with gangster rappers or celebrities. You might find it in a father or a mother, or you might find it in someone within the community who can bring people together and lead and provide a moral compass. You might find it in a church, in part, but you need to find the solutions within yourself and within the greater community, your community. You can't be looking outside for the solutions. What happened here in St. Louis is tragic all the way around. Tragic for the young girl who is in hospital tonight in critical condition, fighting for her life. I don't know how she's alive after seeing what I saw. And I don't know what kind of condition she'll be in if she does survive. Pray for her. And for the girl charged, pray for her. Pray for the country. Pray for our society. This is it's a national tragedy. A local incident, another national tragedy. This may not get that much more traction in the news cycle. I don't know. But it's absolutely making things worse here tonight. I don't know how much more play this would get. I do know that if the roles had been reversed, you'd have people in the streets tonight protesting, and probably doing a lot worse than just protesting by carrying signs. But because the rules are the way that they are, it's being played down. Mainstream media not talking about the race issue, but online people are talking about the race issue. And because it's not being talked about in a constructive way at all in the mainstream, it's making things worse on the fringes. A lot worse. And that is taking us to a very dark place. We can't, as a country, as a society, allow that to happen. We've got to find a better way. That's my editorial comment on this story tonight. Don't give in. Don't give in to the darkness. That's not a solution. That's just a path to more violence. More chaos, more destruction, more despair. It's too late to turn things back to where they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years. It's too late. The country is the way the country is. So we need to learn to live together. And there was no choice. I mean, the only other choice is unacceptable. And anybody offering you a solution that is unacceptable, well, that's unacceptable. And you know what I'm talking about. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. I don't even want to say it on the air here. But I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the rise of it. It's turning people into the very thing they've been accused of being. That people have said they're not. I'm not of this and I'm not of that. Why are you accusing me of that? And then I'm seeing stuff online, hearing things come out of people's mouths. And I don't think they even understand. I don't think they're hearing themselves. Don't give in to the anger. Don't give in to the darkness. And that goes for both sides. Enough of the victimhood. Enough of the blaming the other side. It's high time people started to look within, take personal responsibility. It's high time the black community stood up and did the right thing and started to clean their act up too. Both sides. That's all there is to it. It isn't even really that complicated. Just gotta stop. Just gotta stop. I'll be back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
It doesn't make anything easier. It makes matters even worse when we're looking down at Haiti tonight and the chaos that has been unleashed there. You got this crazy authoritarian who's taking power down there, and his name, he uses this name Barbecue. He's like a gang leader. They now control, I think it's about 80% of the country or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to know exactly what the situation is because it has descended into chaos. But he's been basically in charge down there for quite a while. They managed to sort of empty the prisons. At least 3,000 or 4,000 prisoners released from the prisons. It's turned incredibly violent on the streets. This is Barbecue, the leader of the G9 gang I'm talking about. Here, I'll show you a picture. And there's been so much killing. I guess people have been forced from their homes in some places because of the stench of the decaying bodies in the streets. There he is, Mr. Barbecue. And for him, it is a question of race, I guess. It's a racial war of some kind, fighting on that side. He said in a past interview, in some past interviews, that he idolizes Fidel Castro, communism. He said in the past as well that he likes Martin Luther King, but said that Martin Luther King didn't fight with guns, and he fights with guns. I guess he's like about in his mid-40s, Haitian gang leader. So it's just chaos on the streets down there. And of course, because a lot of this is racial in nature, this conflict, a lot of people online making a big issue out of that as well. and focusing on the issue of Haitian immigration in general, but Haitian immigration tonight being highlighted as an area of concern for a lot of people as they post comments regarding this situation in Haiti. Understandable. Understandable. Speaking of war and conflict, Ukraine taking exception and I guess kind of firing back at the Pope after his comments over the weekend, or they weren't really over the weekend, they were made during an interview that was recorded sometime prior, where he called, and I did mention this on the show the other night, where he was calling on Ukraine to basically surrender, but, engage in peace talks with Russia and find the courage of the white flag, as the Pope put it. However, Ukraine are not happy with that. And allied nations with Ukraine also not happy with Pope Francis, who suggested that they should have the courage to negotiate an end to the war with Russia. Although I think the time might be opportune, given the current state, given that munitions and supply chains are in jeopardy in Ukraine, on the Ukrainian side. Gives ambassador to the Vatican, says that they can't accept the pontiff's logic on this. Saying, when you see that you are defeated and things that are not going well, you have to have the courage to negotiate, is what Pope Francis said in this interview with Swiss broadcaster RSI. And the response from Ukraine is now this. They're saying, quote, "Our flag is yellow and blue. This is the flag by which we live, die, and prevail. We shall never raise any other flags." Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba posted online. So, the fighting continues. As Ukraine waits for, and hopes for, prays for, I guess, funding to be approved on the U.S. side, billions of dollars sitting in limbo, waiting final approval, $60 billion in new funding. We will just have to wait and see. Not clear to me right now exactly where things go, because every time I hear from the pundits that it's all over, the war continues. Every time I hear that it'll only be another week or 2 weeks or maybe a month or it's going to be over soon, it's never over. And now we're getting into the third year of this war. There was also a report, interesting, that was commissioned by the RCMP, or they conducted a study. And came up with a report. And I saw a story today about this where the contents of this intelligence, or I guess it's more like a, what do they call it, a situation briefing or an assessment of the current situation in the country, the mood. The RCMP has this study, and they're saying things are going to get a whole lot worse, they expect, over the next 5 years before they get better. And they cite a lot of, I was just thinking about this, and I should have probably included this in the lineup tonight. Might not have been, yeah, here we go. Canada facing a series of crises that will test it in the coming years. In this report from the RCMP, now the state broadcaster, MSM, they managed to get a hold of this document, this report. A lot of it's redacted, but I took note of it as I was skimming. I don't usually look much at the CBC, but this one got my attention because I think some of the contents of this report, not the CBC report, but the report that I was able to take a bit of a look at from the RCMP, it has important information in it. Specifically, the information on the political side. Here, let me just show you this. I'll show you the CBC website. Okay, so they're predicting, basically the RCMP, that there will be, a lot of different unrest. The climate change thing, they always throw that in there, but that's sort of neither here nor there to me. I don't think that the climate and the changing climate is going to lend itself much to more civil unrest or social division. But sliding living standards and polarization, oh yes, the economy is not in good shape. The RCMP is aware of it. They're taking note because as the economy gets worse, they're obviously seeing the potential for and the probability of more crime, more conflict, even more racial tension, I think, as a result. It says here in this report, the coming period of recession will also accelerate the decline in living standards that the younger generations have already witnessed compared to earlier generations. For example, many Canadians under 35 are unlikely ever to be able to buy a place to live. The fallout from this decline in living standards will be exacerbated by the fact that the difference between the extremes of wealth is greater now in developed countries than it has been at any time in several generations. Huge RCMP focusing on this. You're not hearing it in the public sphere expressed this way by our politicians, our bureaucrats, our leaders, but surely they must be aware, and this is because of the government policies at every level, including internationally, that have led us to this point. And as a result of all that, we are getting more political polarization as well. It says here, populists have been capitalizing on a rise in political polarization and conspiracy theories and tailoring their messages to appeal to extremist movements, the report says, adding that authoritarian movements have been on the rise in many liberal democratic countries. Quote, law enforcement should expect continuing social and political polarization fueled by misinformation campaigns and an increasing mistrust for all democratic institutions. Law enforcement should anticipate that criminals will leverage technological innovations to gain profit and influence. Law enforcement should also continue to contribute to policy change related to the privacy of personal information, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, quantum computing, digital ledger technology, and more. Here in the story, they're showing a picture of a bunch of people living in tents in Canada, in Halifax, downtown. The report goes on and says the damage to the economy and to the social fabric of the nation is ongoing, and there is an established opposition to existing and potential public health measures and other restrictions. It goes on. You're getting the idea. You've got the message. And it is true. What I'm seeing in politics on both sides is the use of information warfare. I'm seeing issues being exaggerated and leveraged in a way to get an emotional response from people, which is what is always done in politics, but it's being done on an amplified level to really get people jacked up. And the worse things get, the more political extremes always hold appeal. You can go back through history and look at any period in time when there has been an economic downturn, and people always run for the extremes. It becomes more appealing to them because they are looking for some form of security, safety, and stability. Therefore, they tend to run straight toward, of course, socialism. Because in the event of an economic downturn, they're looking for the state, the government, to intervene and just save them somehow. Save us, save us. But the price that you pay comes in the form of the loss of your freedom. You're going to pay for that security with your freedom. And people will embrace authoritarianism. They will embrace it in order to get to a place where they feel like something is being done to protect them or save them from what otherwise would be an inevitable negative result. That's why the immigration thing is such a hot button issue right now. People are feeling very threatened by it. I get it. I see it. I understand, especially with these wars, especially the one in Gaza. And you're seeing, the rise in immigration. So people are seeing a lot of changes. You're seeing the economic downturns. I mean, it's a perfect storm for a country. This perfect storm represents, honestly, an existential threat to our countries as we have come to know them during my lifetime. And it does feel like it is coming apart at the seams. So I'm looking online. I see this thing happen in St. Louis. I see what's going on in Haiti. We see this massive flood of immigration coming into the country. It's further destabilizing things. The economy is on a slide. The standard of living deteriorating. The government during the pandemic spending like drunken sailors, inflating beyond belief to the point where the dollar itself appears to be in jeopardy. The future of the dollar. It looks like we could be on a crazy train to Povertyville. So, of course, people are scared. And then it becomes very easy for political opportunists to manipulate people and sell them lies, sell us all lies. Promises of freedom, like this Mr. Cannibal guy, this Mr. Barbecue dude. And I guess there is even some talk of actual cannibalism going on down in Haiti because of the death that's taking place down there. People find that hard to believe, but it has happened in the past. You can find instances of it in history. Not that long ago, I've mentioned it here on this program, only to have some people just deny, oh no, that never really happened. Well, no, it does happen when things get bad enough. And so, of course, if it gets to that point, or even if you see it happening in another country, people are going to run for safety and security. And if you've got some person over there who seems to be strong, with their arms wide open, taking an authoritarian stance, that can be very appealing to some people, a lot of people. We've seen that in history too. But it's a trap. And if it happens this time, I don't know that there's ever any coming back from it. Because, if you go back to World War II and World War I, but if you go to, especially to World War II, the United States, Canada, some other countries, they were there to save things. But if things descend into hell here, there's no other place left. I mean, you can look to Russia, I guess, but that's not what we had here. In some ways, in a lot of ways, I see Russia is almost more like what we used to have here, but it's still not. I mean, Russia is Russia. It's its own thing. And that's okay. But I don't see it as being like the kind of society that we had here, the kind of society, country that was created by our forefathers, that I think people kind of tend to reject. Not kind of, we have been rejecting it because I think we've had our institutions infiltrated, our government infiltrated. It's been a case of cultural, political capture on a grand scale by political extremists who have been pushing critical race theory, identity politics, neoliberal woke political ideology. It's infiltrated every aspect of our, I mean, it's woven its way into the fabric of our society in a very short period of, well, I shouldn't say that. They've been working at it for decades, but when it grabbed a hold, it was like wildfire. Hate to use that metaphor, given what we're seeing in our forests over the last couple of years and what's likely to happen this summer. Again, a wildfire for sure. We're at war. It is a world war. It's an information war. It's a kinetic war. Mostly it's a world war. We need to be so aware, and I wish people were more educated. I wish our school system did a better job of preparing us for this eventuality that has now come to pass and is now is a reality. I just wish that people could see it. I wish people could see what's happening to them and what they are becoming on both sides, all sides. It's tragic, it is dark, it is evil. And we have to resist that. That's what we have to resist. Cannot be running to the extremes, because that's where we will find authoritarianism, not freedom. People sit here and say, "We're freedom, we want freedom." And while they run into the arms and the open embrace of people who will bring you nothing but dictatorship. That's what I'm rejecting here. Honestly, that's why I've been under so much. I've been getting so many messages from people. You're not a true freedom fighter. Yeah, listen to yourself, man. Listen to what you're advocating for. That RCMP report is not wrong. Many aspects of it, it's right on the money. I'm seeing it myself. It's hard for people to see through the layers of the onion, but because I've been sitting in this chair and conducting research daily for years now, plus the prior experience in journalism that I have dealing with government, police, our institutions, I know how they work. And it's becoming increasingly apparent to me that that report is kind of on the money. We're in for a heap of hurt in the next few years, next 3 to 5, maybe longer. Maybe a lot longer if we don't get a hold of this thing. And if people don't resist the darkness. We have to. Again, personal responsibility. Listen to what you're saying. Check yourself. What's in your heart? What's in your head? What are you saying? Look in the mirror in the morning and then just ask yourself, like, what am I? What do I stand for? Find the answers within, and then you'll know who to follow. As long as you've got a moral compass, I guess. That's part of the problem. That's a big part of the problem. We've lost our moral compass. And people are looking for an easy answer. You think the government's going to save you. The government's going to entrap you if you continue to run to the government for all of your solutions. Government plays a role. The government has to be kept in check, and that's why you can't give the government too much power. You can't run to these people who are going to give you authoritarianism because they'll have too much power. We can talk about it more. I will talk about it more in the days ahead, but I see what's going on. And this racial tension, this is a hot button issue. This is one of the things that's driving people, as I say, to the edges, combined with the problems with the economy that is getting worse and worse and worse. Right? Don't give in, man. We're all being tested. So many people failed the test during the pandemic. We're being tested again and again and again on these issues as they pop up, and so many people are failing. We're failing the test, so many of us. Some people not. Don't give in, man. Don't fail the test. Don't fail to recognize that we are being tested right now. It is a test. If we fail, we will lose everything. You want to own nothing and not be happy? Fail the test. The people offering you solutions to that threat, a lot of them are just going to lead you right into that trap. Enough said tonight on that, but I'm sure we'll say more anyway, because I think some of the other stories we're going to touch on this evening will just lead us down that path again. There's too much of it tonight. I'll try to find a path back to some positivity here. A little bit difficult, though, especially when we're seeing... What else did I find today? Oh, yes, police reporting to us that human remains have been discovered at a landfill in Fredericton. Very little information coming out. But there it is. Fredericton police force investigating discovery of human remains. Here, I'll show you the information we have from Fredericton police tonight. I'm bringing this up too because I can't help but I gotta have a gut feeling on this one. As a journalist, it usually serves me pretty well. This is a story that I think we're going to be hearing more about. This is going to develop into something broader, I fear. Fredericton police force investigating discovery of human remains. Members of the police force responded to the Fredericton Region Solid Waste Commission for a report of human remains discovered at the landfill. The Fredericton police force continues to investigate. They're asking the public to help if you have any information about this. They've got their numbers posted online. You can just go to their website at fredericton.ca. The government, the municipal website, you'll find this posted there. You can also, of course, find it on the, I believe, the police website for Fredericton as well. New Brunswick. The number, just in case you do have trouble finding it, if you do want to call police for any reason, if you do have any information, you can call them at 506-460-2300. Or Crime Stoppers, 1-800-222-8477. Of course, with Crime Stoppers, as they say, you can remain anonymous. 1-800-222-8477. That's all we know about it. But my journalist sense is tingling. Something more to this than maybe just one thing. Still on the police beat, just briefly, counterfeit money circulating in Ontario. Toonies, counterfeit toonies, and they're looking very authentic. This happens from time to time. I don't know if it's because coins are easier to counterfeit than bills. They may well be. Don't know. But here are some examples of some toonies that are counterfeit. Which ones are counterfeit? Which ones are real? Can you tell the difference? I can't, not in the picture. But they are circulating. So keep your eyes on your toonies and look for anomalies. They're out there. And the cops are issuing that warning. So yeah, we continue to follow that story out of St. Louis as well. None of the names released, no names released in this at this point, of course, because we're dealing with youths. So as far as I know, that 15-year-old who was arrested remains in custody, but I'm not sure. Some time has passed since I was able to last check on that. I would think she will be released on bail at some point, but whether that's happened or not, I don't know yet. And again, very little coming from the Hazelwood East School and the school board there. They have issued this statement, though, saying the Hazelwood School District offers our sincerest condolences to everyone involved and will offer additional emotional support from our support and crisis team to those in need. Beyond that, really nothing at this point. So we'll just continue to follow it. Let's take another quick break. I'm going to come back. We've got a lot more stuff to cover tonight. Lots more.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So over the weekend, Pierre Poilievre held a big rally, and I'll tell you, it was well attended. And while he was there, he addressed a key issue for a lot of people, which is the World Economic Forum. He really, this was the most definitive statement on that issue to date, in my estimation. He came right out and said, again, but in I think the most, in the plainest of language, the easiest way to understand, he says that none of his ministers or members of parliament will be allowed to be members of the World Economic Forum. That is the message that he delivered. Now, this rally that he held over the weekend, generating some, it's triggering some people, particularly on the left side of the political spectrum, who saw that at least one person was ejected by off-duty police officers who had been hired to work the event as security. So they escorted a protester out who was there to could protest climate change. So, of course, they're trying to make Pierre Poilievre out now to be sort of a political bully of some kind. And then Poilievre delivered this fiery speech, a barn burner to be sure, where he hits this issue head on for people who keep saying, I think Pierre is a member of the W.E.F. Well, this is his response, and he's looking for your vote. That's exactly the stuff people want to hear, and yet there's that seed of doubt planted out there by his political opponents, maybe on all sides. You know, I see those seeds of doubt being planted, honestly, by people within the People's Party of Canada. That's a strategy. Also by the Liberals, also by the NDP. They're all kind of involved in it. But the PPC has the most to gain by taking something away from Pierre. Even though it's a populist party, it's still trying to chip away at that support that the Conservatives had. Yet, if you look at the PPC in Canada, the Populist Party of Canada is what it should be, although they say People's Party. It is a populist party, and it really draws support from across the political spectrum and from the edges. But especially, you know, it's like you get the whole mix of people in there. Well, that's where the doubt comes from. Is the people saying, I don't think he really is a member of the W.E.F. Well, he's saying this. The question is he sincere? Do people believe him? You'll have to figure that one out on your own. All I can do is run the clips, give you the information, show you whatever evidence I have. People keep saying, oh, no, I saw him on that website. No, well, you know, everything people have sent me so far, every screenshot, everything that leads you back, it's actually not to the W.E.F., a W.E.F. website. Everything I've seen that has been sent to me so far has taken me to, well, it's shown me a screenshot of a website about the W.E.F. that appears to be the World Economic Forum, and there was this post on there listing Pierre with his picture on there, but it wasn't actually from the W.E.F. website. And they said that he had been removed from the site. I don't know. I've not found any credible evidence to suggest that that information is actually accurate. Now, a lot of people are going to dispute that, and I know now I'm going to get a bunch of other correspondence coming in from people saying, oh, no, here it is. Here's the proof. I bet you I get the same stuff again. If you have it, though, if you've got the evidence to prove that Pierre Poilievre is a member of the World Economic Forum, send it over. I'm very, very interested, and I would like to see it, especially now, especially after that speech over the weekend at that big rally where he's saying no member of parliament in my government, no minister will be allowed to belong to the W.E.F. So with that statement, that's bold. You produce the proof. He's done like dinner. That would end now, I think, his bid to form government in the next election. Unfortunately, I don't know what we're going to be left with if he doesn't win. Probably 4 more years of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. I don't see the PPC rising to the occasion and forming government. There just doesn't seem to be enough support there. Polling generally out there only around maybe, between, I see, different times anywhere from 1.5 to 3%. In some local ridings, they generate more, but nationally, that's as much as they're getting at the moment. So to go from that to forming government, hardly likely, beyond a long shot. Anything can happen, I suppose, between now and election day, but I don't think there's anywhere near enough time for any new party or the PPC or even any established smaller party to generate enough support to become a credible threat to the establishment parties, the Conservatives, the Liberals, or even the NDP. Keep your eye on Pierre, and if you've got the dirt, send it over. I'll tell people all about it. Oh boy, what else do we have for you in that vein? So we've got that covered. I have my list of stories in front of me here tonight. Oh yes, well, also related to that, because Pierre was talking about the W.E.F, I just thought I'd share this with you as well. Not really super fresh, but I doubt very much if many, or if even any of you have seen this with Australian Senator Malcolm Roberts, who came out and slammed World Economic Forum leader Klaus Schwab. I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Here he is. Oh, hang on. I will be back. Don't go away.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
as we navigate through today's top news stories, listen to concerns about the future, the digitization of our society, the decline of our economy, this degrowth and even de-dollarization, potentially. We're seeing in this election cycle, this presidential election season, Joe Biden pivot toward dealing or addressing concerns about border security. This kind of blows my mind, to be quite honest with you, because essentially you've seen the Democrats advocating for open borders, and yet Biden, his proposed budget for the coming year includes $4.7 billion in emergency funding for border migrant surges. And we've seen rhetoric over the past month, especially since this crisis at the Texas-Mexico border, which saw the convoy kind of heading down there, and this standoff that's still going on between half the states and the federal government over immigration, with the flashpoint being Texas. Well, Biden's budget proposal for 2025 includes a $4.7 billion emergency fund for border security to enable the Department of Homeland Security to ramp up operations in the event of what they are identifying as a possible migrant surge. So the contingency fund would allow the DHS to get into funds on a basis that would be sort of, whenever they need it, if they see a surge, then they can tap into this money. If the number of undocumented or illegal, I think is the more realistic phrase, if a number of illegal migrants crossing the southern border elevates beyond a certain threshold. So this request, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but it's a lot of money, and I don't know. The thing is, as I look at it, it just seems disingenuous, given the policies that we've seen in play under Biden and what's been going on at the border. And I don't know if the Republicans or even Trump, if there's real sincerity there, both sides at this point playing politics with this incredibly important issue, an issue that is reshaping Western society, the United States in particular, and Canada. So, well, I don't know. Is this just window dressing for the upcoming election? Or is this... I think that's what it is. In the end, I bet you that money, if it is approved, I bet you it makes a zero difference at the border. That's just my editorial prediction here tonight on that story. My opinion. Immigration. You're going to see a lot more talk about that. And Trump has been ramping up his anti-immigrant rhetoric again. Served him well the first time around in 2016. It's an issue that is very emotional, and it's those emotional issues that motivate voters. It gets people out to the polls. It gets them to donate. It gets people dialed in, indoctrinated even, sometimes. You know what else gets people jacked up? Sometimes stuff that isn't even true. Propaganda. In France, they're dealing with a cyber attack. Here, I'm going to show you tonight. Here's a headline. French government says it's being targeted by cyber attacks of unprecedented intensity. This is actually a story that I highlighted in one of tonight's thumbnails on some social media platforms. It's more important, I think, than people realize. Here's the headline. The French government says it's being targeted by cyber attacks of unprecedented intensity. At first, I kind of skimmed over it. Then I took a second look. And as I looked at the details surrounding this, I realized this is actually one of the most important stories of the day, maybe the most important. Because the French government is saying that several of its services have been targeted by cyber attacks, that this is unprecedented, and that they have now activated a special crisis center just to restore online services. The Prime Minister's office has issued a statement saying that these attacks began Sunday night, and they've hit a number of government ministries in France. They are being a little coy on this. They're not telling us exactly what's going on, holding some information back, I think for strategic and security reasons. However, they have issued a statement saying that the impact of the attacks is being reduced for most services and access to government sites restored. But then, as you read more, you'll find that this appears to have been initiated by a group of hackers called Anonymous Sudan. Cybersecurity experts say that this group is pro-Russia. They're claiming responsibility for it, this group, Anonymous Sudan, on posts online. The Prime Minister's office in France is saying that they're not going to provide much more in terms of details, again, for security reasons. Now, French officials over there are saying that there were denial of service attacks initiated. It's a common kind of cyber attack. It involves flooding a site with data in order to overwhelm it and knock it offline. And the French government, like every government around the world, has really been trying to take steps to improve cyber security, but especially in France before the Paris Olympics this summer. And there were damaging ransomware attacks levied against France, including French hospitals back in 2021. And here in Canada, just within the last, 6 months or so, we saw an unprecedented attack, cyber attack on hospitals right here in this region of southern Ontario, this part of Canada. It resulted in disruption of services, cancellations of surgeries, put lives at risk because of those kinds of attacks. And beyond that, the French government has also accused Russia of operating a long-running online manipulation campaign. And one of the tactics that the French government is accusing Russia of using is mirroring French foreign ministry websites. In other words, they seem to have the ability to mimic government websites and run them in parallel online. That really got my attention and got me thinking about some things that have been going on. These governments on all sides, the capabilities they have now, it's those capabilities that are also unprecedented. They're able to do all kinds of things online to manipulate people, convince people of things. It isn't just the simple, I shouldn't say simple, but it isn't just posting an image generated with artificial intelligence. It isn't just making a video full of lies to mislead people. The misinformation, the propaganda, the fifth generation warfare goes way beyond that. This report highlighted for me that governments have the ability to mimic government websites. So you could have a foreign government posting or creating an online environment, fake websites that look entirely authentic, look like a government website. They could use that ability to manipulate elections, to cook up elections, you could create potentially even a fake online shadow government. Think about that. Think about that. And that is what they did. Apparently, if the French government is telling the truth, the French government says that Russia has the ability to they were mirroring the French Foreign Ministry website, creating a different version of it that was fake, that looked like the real thing. So people would go to it and they would think they're going to an authentic website with documents that look authentic that are not. Completely fake, and yet virtually impossible to tell the difference. Pretty sophisticated stuff. And I'm sure that it's not just going on this way, it's going on that way too. CIA is probably doing it over there. All these governments are doing this. That's why it's becoming so hard to know what the truth is. Very difficult to sit in this chair, curate the content every night, and figure out what's real and what isn't. And some of the stuff that we're identifying as propaganda, absolutely. Like that video that Kevin Michelizzi shared with us last night. Pretty clear that it was bad acting and staged. This video that was shown of it was supposed to be young Ukrainian men trying to escape being drafted, I guess, into military service. And so the video was posted online, sort of showing, I guess, the bad stuff that's going on in Ukraine. But it appeared to be really Russian propaganda in a really poorly produced video with bad acting, and we showed you the whole thing. It was actually kind of funny, but things get a lot more sophisticated than that all the way around. Now, what else do we have here for you tonight? Oh, a baby born. This is a sort of a happy, weird story, but it's going to get into some more negative stuff in a minute. But there was a baby delivered, I guess, on a recent Air Canada flight. It was on its way to Toronto. Yeah, I guess it does give new meaning to the phrase airborne, right? So, Air Canada has confirmed that this happened. It was on the plane was on its way back from St. Lucia on March the 6th. Well, a woman went into labor, and the flight was diverted to Bermuda to accommodate the delivery, but not in time. Baby was born on the plane. So, there's that, but of really more concern and maybe even more newsworthy, because that kind of thing does happen from time to time, right? Lots of stories about babies being born in the back of taxi cabs or in cars with expectant fathers, maybe a little too slow in getting their partners to the hospital. But this story may be of more concern for people, real concern. An Al Jazeera reporter went into a Boeing assembly facility in South Carolina, took a hidden camera in, and started asking questions of the employees there. Like, this is a plane that you guys produce here. Would you fly on one of these things? So they asked 15 people as part of this investigative report. 10 of the people said, no way.
This is a Boeing factory in the US state of South Carolina. Workers here in Charleston are assembling the company's flagship product, the 787 Dreamliner. But this footage reveals some have little faith in the plane they build.
Did you fly on one? No. You won't fly on one. Did you fly on one of these planes?
No, not really.
Of 15 workers asked randomly, 10 said they would not fly on the Dreamliner.
I wouldn't fly one of these planes because I see the quality going down around here.
An employee captured the footage after contacting Al Jazeera to tell us he had serious concerns about what he was seeing. At his request, we changed his voice.
With all the problems reported on the 787, there's 90% that's getting swept away.
You got audio?
Hushed up. It's an iceberg.
In another meeting, the source told us workers are often underskilled, uncaring, and in some cases on drugs.
I've seen a lot of things that should not go on at an airplane plant. People talking about doing drugs, looking for drugs.
It's all coke and painkillers and what's that other one? You can get weed here. It's really good weed here. They don't drug test nobody.
I know they don't.
And there's people who go out there and want to go smoke one up.
Do they?
Hell yeah.
Over the course of a year, Al Jazeera's investigative unit...
So that story goes on. You can find more of that, through Al Jazeera. But they're highlighting a pretty serious issue. And this coming at a time when we're seeing the doors fly off airliners mid-flight. And then they can't figure out what was going on with the bolts, right? You've got other issues with, what is it, the 737 MAX? Yeah, the 737 MAX and the groundings associated with that because of the design flaw and the software issues to control those planes. So a lot of people were, yeah, you're going to fly on one of those. You might not have too much confidence in that. And then this story now from Al Jazeera about the quality of those planes. And now also there's this report, and I'm going to show it to you. I do not know how much validity there is to this or the speculation surrounding it. So take this, don't just accept this. This needs more scrutiny, what I'm about to show you, okay? Because I just don't know, but it feeds into this, and it's worth mentioning. So here's Boeing whistleblower found dead of self-inflicted gunshot wound in the U.S. So this is ex-Boeing employee John Barnett. I guess what's being said here in this online post is that he was handing over key pieces of evidence in a lawsuit alleging that Boeing was covering up safety concerns, such as 1 in 4 oxygen masks installed being faulty and wouldn't work during emergencies. The other allegation, and these have not been proven in court, or proven, period, as far as I've seen, workers being told to deliberately fit substandard parts such as ones in scrap bins to aircrafts in order to hurry up production. Again, that needs to be proven. General safety measures being ignored by under-pressure workers. Again, show me the evidence. This has to play itself out in court. But now this guy, apparently dead. And that, of course, leading to a lot of online speculation, theories, conspiracies. I don't know. But what I'm going to do right now is, because this was just sent to me just prior to airtime, I'm going to Google this guy's name just to give it one little layer of scrutiny. see if we can find any other reports out there that would confirm these claims made in this report. There it is. Boeing whistleblower dies by suicide amid involvement in lawsuit with company. Yes, indeed. And actually, we are getting this at the same time now as some of the other media just coming online with it. So this is actually very fresh. Kind of makes me wish that I'd posted it earlier in the broadcast just to be near the front on this story. But even TMZ now posting this 1 minute ago. This went live on the TMZ website. I'll bring it up and show you what they're doing with it. So it is now getting some traction. And we're right there with the rest of them. There it is. A whistleblower who was at war with Boeing died last week, and investigators say it appears he took his own life. This while he was embroiled in a lawsuit against the company. John Barnett was discovered dead on Saturday in Charleston, North Carolina, where cops say his body was found in his truck in a hotel parking lot, with him suffering an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. No word on if foul play is suspected, but police are investigating. Barnett's attorney, Brian Knowles, called the passing of his client tragic and went on to express explicit doubt about the circumstances of his death, making sure to call the self-inflicted gunshot wound cops are citing as alleged. What's more startling, according to this TMZ report, is that Barnett was literally in the midst of a whistleblower lawsuit against Boeing, his former employer of 32 years, as he was alleging retaliation for sounding the alarm on what he characterized as cutting corners on assembly lines for their planes. And Barnett was even on TMZ at one point, addressing the issues surrounding those Boeing 737 MAX manufacturing and design defects that resulted in those groundings. And then, of course, there was that incident that I already mentioned just a moment ago, the door blowing off that 737 flight midair. That was back in January. And, of course, the passengers terrified when the door flew off. Then they had to initiate an emergency landing. There's another one to take note of. Boeing not faring well in the court of public opinion these days. And Stephen Guilbeault, Canada's environment minister, he was making an announcement today related to climate change and the government's carbon tax. He was in New Brunswick stating during a speech that he was going to be giving, or the government was going to be giving, $20 million of carbon pricing proceeds to the New Brunswick provincial government through the Future Electricity Fund. The money to go toward the province's program aimed at helping homeowners reduce energy costs through home efficiency upgrades. At least that's what they're asserting. So he was there making this announcement, but also being asked about a developing story which has just come to light here, which is that Irving Oil in Canada is looking to potentially sell off its company. That Irving Oil could sell. It's on the market. And according to company officials, it's because of the federal government's policies on climate change. And the buck on that stops right at Stephen Guilbeault's desk. He is the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. A climate activist, some would say climate radical extremist, who, before becoming a politician and being elected to government, at one point scaled the CN Tower to unfurl a Greenpeace banner and was then subsequently arrested, charged. Now he's in charge of the Environment and Climate Change portfolio. Well, today, responding to questions about the negative impact his policies have been having on the oil industry in Canada, this way.
So Premier Higgs says Irene's oil strategic review and possible sale of the refinery is due in part to your climate policies. What would you have to say to that?
I can't really comment. I'm not an expert on oil markets. What I will say, there was a report that came out today, or maybe it was at the end of last week, that said that in order to ensure the future of the refinery, it needs to invest in decarbonization, which is exactly what our government is doing through a number of different initiatives to help industries in different sectors, but including in the oil and gas sector, invest in decarbonization. We know that the world is moving towards decarbonization. According to the International Energy Agency, we will, in the transportation sector, we're consuming about 40 million barrels of oil a day. That will go down to about 2 million barrels of oil in 2050. Because everyone is moving towards electrification of their transportation all around the world. According to the same International Energy Agency, 5 years ago, 1 in 5 vehicles sold in the world was an electric vehicle. 1 in 20 3 years ago. Today it's 1 in 5, 20% in the world. In Quebec, it's 20%. In BC, it's 25%. On average, in Canada now, it's about 10%. So Canadians are embracing electrical vehicles, which will obviously drive down the demand for oil refined product in Canada, but also all around the world. And clearly, for these companies, the future is in alternatives, which is why we're helping them invest in biomass, alternative fuels, hydrogen, because that's where the world is heading.
Thank you. And do you think a large oil refinery like that has a future? And is there a business case for it to be operating in 10 or 20 years?
Well, I think clearly we will still need to be using fuels, but we will be using different type of fuels. I spoke about hydrogen. We could talk about different types of alternative fuels that are being produced. And in fact, we're seeing in Canada investments in hundreds of millions of dollars come by chance in Newfoundland, in Saskatchewan, in Quebec, NRCam. There are multiple examples of companies, including oil companies, Shell, Suncor, Imperial, investing in these initiatives because they see that's where the future is heading, and the federal government wants to be a partner with them to make that transition.
Well, see, the government has gone all in on electric vehicles. Billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars being pumped into the electrification of the auto industry, the retooling of factories, assembly lines to accommodate the production of batteries for electric vehicles. And if it does not work, I think we're again in for a heap of hurt. Cross your fingers. It's going to be a wild ride. I'll be right back after this.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Exile. The Knights of Malta. Maverick News. Join us. The world is watching.
Here I am. Okay, so did you guys watch the Oscars? I didn't. I generally don't care that much, but with the Oscars, seems like every year there's some political element to it, some political statement, some major political, social, political, cultural, political thing that happens. This year, John Cena involved in the presentation of an award naked. Some people think it was funny. Other people think it was humiliating and maybe an illustration or or maybe it exposed the underbelly of our society, our culture. Or maybe the descent into darkness morally. I don't know what you guys think. I didn't watch, but I did take note today of what happened. Best Picture, I guess, oh, by the way, going to Oppenheimer. I did see that movie. I thought it was okay. It was good. Best Picture of the year. I don't know, when your main opposition is Barbie, which I did not see. I could not bring myself to see it. Might not be so difficult to win Best Picture. Barbenheimer, Oppenbarber. Remember when they were both out at the same time and people were referring to the two films that way? Oh yeah, the other thing is the guy, Ryan Gosling or whatever, singing I'm Just Ken or whatever that song was. Didn't watch it, haven't seen it, don't really care. Do whatever you want. But this thing with John Cena, it seems to have touched a nerve, triggered some people, certainly on the conservative side. And I'm kind of left wondering, too, what is going through their minds, the producers of this program, these awards. Like, why? Why does he have to be naked? I don't understand. I just don't. Jimmy Kimmel, I did watch, the clips online from last night. Jimmy Kimmel, the host. I'm not a Kimmel fan anymore because of the way he has become sort of political. Used to do the Man Show. Now he's supposed to be kind of politically correct, but he got himself into hot water there a while ago anyway, as they tend to eat their own on the left side of the political spectrum. But last night, making light of streakers. Do you remember back in the 70s, the streakers that used to run across the stage, like not just the stage, but they'd just show up at big events and just streak, get naked and run through a stadium or something, an arena, or at a concert or wherever. Streakers. And then there was that song that came out in the 70s. Who was the guy who sang that song, The Streak? Oh, yeah, they call it The Streak. Ray Stevens. Yeah. Well, last night, John Cena gets naked and does sort of a comedy bit with Jimmy Kimmel and then walks on stage wearing nothing but an envelope. And then some people come out and they dress him up in some sort of an outfit. I didn't really quite understand it. Maybe you had to watch the whole show to, or a larger portion of the show to understand it. But some people are saying that it's like a ritual, a humiliation exercise that has deeper meaning, if you will. Okay? So maybe, I can't say, but here's a clip of the Tate brothers calling out John Cena for completely selling out his soul, as they put it, by performing a humiliation ritual at the Oscars. I'll just bring, first of all, this image up of Cena at the Oscars. So that's what he looked like. Now, I have to tell you, he wasn't actually naked. And I was able to confirm that because I did see some photos of him wearing, that looked like kind of an athletic supporter kind of a thing backstage before going on stage to do this comedy bit. And Tate brothers commenting on this. All right, let's bring these guys up. I'm going to let them comment through a portion of their video. I won't run the whole thing, just a clip to give you a taste of sort of the backlash that we're seeing online.
Last night at the Oscars, for those of you who don't know who John Cena is, if you're older, because in my generation, you had The Rock, you had Chris Benoit. Yeah, well, I guess nothing to say about him. The previous generation, older than me, had Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Ric Flair, who is a G, by the way. And after The Rock, it became a bunch of crappy people. Then it was John Cena for a while. After Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then after John Cena, now it's a bunch of homos who drink Prime. So, yeah, he was the last wrestling hero who wasn't super gay. Until now. So you have to understand, all the 26-year-olds to 29-year-olds, he's their guy. He's the Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's the Andre the Giant. He's the Hulk Hogan. Everyone, he's the man, the wrestling man. And they've turned him gay. Therefore targeting the 25 to 30-year-olds.
Yeah, the primary objective is to take anyone who's remotely masculine and teach them a lesson and humiliate them. And we're going to talk about the offer they gave us and how they tried to humiliate us shortly. We're going to get there. But first, let's look at the Oscars from last night, and let's look at the... And anyone who doesn't understand how these satanic cults work, it's very simple. It's like a fraternity. You have to go through a ritual or go through some degree of initiation before you get to become a member. And they want to humiliate you. They want you to demonstrate that the ideology they hold and your adherence to their ideology and your desperation to be linked with them is more important than your personal pride. Because pride is, in and of itself, a barrier. If you're a proud man and you stick up and believe in certain things, your pride is what's going to allow you to resist enslavement in general. You can sit and say, no, I'm too proud to allow this to happen to me. I'm too proud to allow this to happen to my family. They don't want you to be proud. They often say pride is a terrible thing and you should get rid of it. It's proud men that built this world. When you're proud of the work you do a better job. When you're proud of your body, you're in good shape. When you're proud of your family, you take care of them. They try their very best to remove the idea of pride. So you have nothing to be proud of, because then you're malleable, you're empty goo.
It's almost
where they can inject the slave programming directly into your at a cellular level, and you'll just mold into anything they want you to be. Man, woman, Democrat, Republican, who knows? It's very obvious now. So they build up masculine figures. I'm sure John Cena, when he wanted to become a wrestling superstar and get really muscly and get in fantastic shape and run around being a big, strong man beating everybody up, when he had all these dreams and aspirations, he didn't intend on ending up walking around naked or putting on a dress. There's a video of him with Jimmy Fallon wearing a dress. We need that video.
Okay, I can't run that. We're going to get hit with a copyright strike. So, end of that. That's what we're seeing online tonight as a result of the Oscars and John Cena. I'm just going to see if there's any more coming online as a result of that. Most of the posts that I'm seeing online with regard to it are just treating it like it was a comedy sketch. Again, didn't understand the point of it. I also didn't extrapolate from it what those guys were talking about either. It's amazing how people see different things in the same thing. Me, I didn't understand. I certainly understand how can I put this? The moral decline by having him appear on stage that way. I didn't understand the purpose. Those guys are interpreting it that way, analyzing it that way, seeing it from that perspective. I don't know, maybe I had to watch more of it to ascertain exactly what it was really all about. You guys can, again, draw your own conclusions, I guess. I don't know if any of you watched the Oscars last night. I don't know. Antonio, let's just go to the chat here, and I'll just put up some of the comments on screen here. Oh, somebody's saying, come on, you like his jokes, Rick. No, I don't, actually. I don't watch Kimmel. I haven't watched him in years. I used to watch him many years ago, sort of pre-pandemic, and I remember when he had the Man Show. Adam Carolla was on that show with him, and now they're kind of like political opposites. I think they're still friends. Choosy, what are you saying there? Choosy, Stray Cats opened for Stevie Ray Vaughan at New York State Fair in the 1980s. It was one of his last appearances. Who are you talking about? Not sure. Seema? No. Probably somebody else. What else do we have? Sandy says, it's drugs, Rick. Usos say drugs are an issue. Baron says the Oscars are already humiliating. And Dave Dowling says, Cena was awarding the Best Costume Award. That's true. Hence the no clothes to emphasize importance of costumes. Okay. Yeah, I get that. That gives it some context. Did they need to do it that way? I don't know. Did it bother me? Didn't really bother me. I really wasn't analyzing it or thinking about it that much until I saw the backlash online. It's strange to me, honestly. I don't think John Cena is gay, but somehow those guys went to sort of an anti-gay, anti-Hollywood establishment, if you'll put, or elite perspective on it. And Jilly Bean sees it, humiliation ritual. Jilly Bean says it's because he looks like Magic Mike. Okay. All right, but you know what? I don't think that Magic Mike was gay either. Didn't he end up having a girlfriend in that movie? I never watched that whole thing. I have seen maybe a quarter of it, and then I turned it off. And Elite 333 says proud and pride. Not sure what that means exactly, but not really sure what that means. Antonio, Romans 1:21, because he says, Antonio, quoting the Bible here, Romans 1:21, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Julie Bean says they're Luciferians. And Dave says he wasn't naked. He was wearing a small envelope in short landscape mode instead of long portrait mode. That's true. And actually underneath that, he did have something uncovering his privates. And Joe says, sorry, Rick, no one paid me to watch the Oscars. You know, I didn't watch it either. And yeah, the Streaker song, says Dave. Oh, and Art says there was no sound again on the PP, the Pierre Poilievre video. I'm sorry about that, guys. I spent much of the day trying to figure out the audio issue. It affects some clips if I'm pulling them off Twitter. It seems to not run, so I'm going to have to find a workaround on that and figure out what the problem is. Still working on it. Very sorry for that. Very sorry for that. So, and RKM RDT made a joke that I won't repeat, but you can read it online. You can read it on the screen if you're watching on video tonight. But you won't know what it is if you're just listening to the podcast, because I'm not going to say it. And Antonio says, Jilly Bean Live, sorry for the late response. They keep cutting my feed on chat. Oh. Well, I'm sorry about that, Antonio. I have no idea what's going on with that. Your chat's being disrupted somehow? Sorry about that, sir. Another thing to look into on the technical side. Well, that kind of gets us to a point where I am at this stage where I'm going to ask for your help, and we could sure use some help covering the bills here. You are the only thing that keeps us alive and kicking and operating, keeps this operation going. You can support us if you like what we do at maverickdonations.com. That'll take you to the Give, Send, Go. You can also support us at freedomreporters.com. And again, you guys are the only thing that supports this channel, so it's up to you. And I appreciate those who have supported us. You can also support us by just liking, sharing, subscribing. Subscribe over on Rumble. That's super important. We are growing over there, as you know, and make sure you hit that notification bell over on YouTube if you subscribe on one of our YouTube channels. That way you won't miss anything that comes down the pipe. As we produce videos, you'll get notifications. But you gotta ring the bell. And donate at freedomreporters.com. And again, if you donate $30 or more, I can send you a t-shirt. Be happy to do that in the mail. Send that along. So make sure you tell me what size you need and include your shipping information. For $60 or more, we have the embroidered shirts, hoodies as well. Can send you along one of those. Just tell me what you'd like. Just make a notation when at the time of donation. If you need to send me an email separately, you can certainly do that. Either by going to the website at mavericknews.ca and just going to the contact page, you can contact me there. Or you can also send me an email at maverickmultimedia@mail.com. And that will come to me directly. Oops, not that one. You want that one, maverickmultimedia@mail.com. The other one, I don't really check that other email that much, so I might miss it, that other one that was up on the screen. This one here, though, I check that regularly, maverickmultimedia@mail.com. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up for the evening. I really appreciate you guys spending your time here. I know you could be just about you could be any other place, including any other destination online, taking in content from any place around the world, any place within the World Wide Web and beyond. And it is a privilege to have you here sharing your time with me this evening. And I will return tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And I just have to find our closer right there. There it is right there. So I will be back tomorrow night here on the Maverick News Channel, where we have the antivirus programs for your mind, 6 p.m. Eastern on the flip side. See you then.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.